Well, the security expert Tony Ofoyetan is on the news to talk about, well, this security challenge, this lingering security challenge, and a host of others in the country. Many thanks for joining us again. Your quick thoughts, Tony, now on, well, this lingering Boko Haram war. Still a battle authorities have on their hands. Doesn't it look like that to you?
Yes, it does. It does. I'm actually looking at the strategic approach of the military to really bring this sect called Boko Haram to its knees. And I think that apart from, like I've said severally, the fact that they ought not to be reactionary, but to be able to be proactive enough, one, put them on their toes perpetually. In other words, every new hideout that they are able to erect, be there. Be able to preempt them. Now that is one aspect. Another fundamental aspect is the sect called Boko Haram. How did they get their supplies for sustenance? Now, and that is where I think the military should really come very hard and tough on, you know, international bodies like the United Nations.
Are we talking about arms alone now, or the food, the water they need to survive?
Food and supplies now. Now, you see, one thing we must understand is that a terrorist is an enemy of a country. But for the United Nations, the peacekeeping, the supplies and the like, under no alliance to any, now you can supply them sustenance and the like. As far as I'm concerned, it's as good as empowering, it's as good as sustaining an enemy against the country. Because if you look at what is happening in Borno, you discover that, you know, the United Nations aids can easily fly to the Boko Haram camp in the name of either going to give them supplies, going to give them medicals and the like. And they fly unaided by any military assistance and the like. And they have free access in, to and fro. You don't know what they discuss. You don't know what they do there under the name of United Nations. I think that the military should really come all out and very strong about this whole thing. And people are dying. It's not the white man that is dying. It's not the Englishman or the American that is dying. The military
soldiers are targeted. People just like these terrorists. Like, look at this latest attack now where an imam and several other villagers are killed and more wounded.
And that it's so painful to me, because as far, I still don't believe that Nigeria is a terrorist country. As far as I'm concerned, for now, I still, yes, it's true that it's fastly gaining ground. But optimistically, because I'm not a terrorist and I grew up in this country and I know that the average Nigerian does not have this terrorist mentality and the like, how come terrorism is now sustained this long? It's not part of our culture. This is not Afghanistan. It's not at all. It's not Iraq. It's not Iran.
So
how come? It simply means that international, look, and that is one area that I insist that the military, the security agency, NSA should come into it and be able to stand their ground. That look, irrespective of what you think, you cannot be sustaining our enemies for whatever reason.
But this aid organizations are not going to the Boko Haram camp.
They do.
They go to civilians now.
They do. They go to Boko Haram camps
to feed the terrorists.
In the name of the fact that they are going for medicals and all those stuff. They do. You can ask those that are on the operational field. They will tell you. They chopper there.
Right.
So right. These are
without any excursion,
yes,
without excursion by the military
agencies. These are issues that
agencies.
the military should come all out. It is our people that are dying. Look, when you had the Biafra War and the Nigerian Civil War, one of the things the Nigerian army used in actually conquering the war was the fact that they were able to stop supplies. It was one of the major strategies to be able to cut the war short.
And of course, declaring Boko Haram a terrorist organization years back now also indicts now anyone who supports Boko Haram. But then how should these aid agencies now carry on with their work? Because they are needed now in times of war, in times of battle where the civilians are in need of food and all.
Now, that is when you do that within the territorial jurisdiction of the country among the civilian populace. Right. You have the IDP camps everywhere. I don't think this thing should extend beyond the IDP.
So going to any other places.
And it should be under close government monitoring.
All right. Well, that said, more security challenges now in other parts of the country. In Abia State now, where the IPOB group has also been declared a terrorist organization. I want to know what you think about. A lot has gone on, Tony. But let's begin with that now, declaring the army. Now we understand President Buhari even vetoed now that approval before he travels to the U.S. For the UN General Assembly. What do you think?
No, the army does not have that legal capacity to declare anybody or any group a terrorist group. It's even unfortunate that in this part of the world we have given the army too much of power, too much of leverage, too much of influence in internal security. The normal thing is that the army should be in the barracks and should be in the bush, should be busy with people like Boko Haram and the like, but not internal. Look,
right.
This thing should be police work, basically. So for army to even come out and say we are declaring, if it were to be the IGP, maybe it could have made a lot of sense, not minding the fact that it is not also legal.
And you're right. The law is specific, the IGP and all. But we understand that the Attorney General of the Federation is more or less, reacting to all these complaints on why the army should have done that. But then, looking at the operations, declaring the operations of IPOB as a terrorist organization, the group itself now, what do you think now? We've seen the breakdown of terrorism.
You see, we are looking for peace. We are praying for peace. We are suing for peace. War starts with words. And that is what we must understand. War don't necessarily start with arms and ammunition. It starts first with words. And we have been told to avoid everything that had to do with hate speech, that had to, inflammate the polity and all those stuff. And it's both ways, for the people and also for governments. Because if you are talking about declaring an IPOB a terrorist organization, the question is this: what makes it a terrorist organization? For now, they don't bear arms. Clubs and sticks and cutlasses does not come to the construction or definition of arms when it comes to international terrorism or the definition of terrorism under the United Nations.
But we've
or
seen,
even under the,
But then we've seen attacks break out in River State. The police station was attacked in Abia State. Mosque also attacked and all.
There are different militia groups that have done worse than that. In time past. During riots, during crisis and the like, which of the military groups in this country? Is it the men you are going to talk about that blew up government facilities and the like? Or is it OPC at the wake of their coming into existence that were busy burning and all those stuff like that? Well, which of the groups are you going to talk about that never went through all those? Do you, because of that, pockets of incidences? Now, do you know the meaning of being a terrorist organization? It's not just a nomenclature thing, it's an actual act. So, to the extent at which IPOB is now, so as far as I'm concerned, and I know that the law also cannot construe IPOB as it were now to be a terrorist organization. Yes, if you are talking about treasonable felony and all those stuff like that, because it's challenging the sovereignty of the country, the territorial integrity of the country and all those stuff like that, because they are talking about breakaway, and maybe because they seems not to be following legal procedures and all those stuff like that. Yes, it makes a lot of sense. But when you go to the extreme to say you are declaring them a terrorist organization, it could also boomerang. Because at the end of the day, even people that were not sympathetic to their cause may not begin to look at the whole thing, because there are a lot of things. Fulani cattle herdsmen are there. IPOB have not been said to kill 10 people. Fulani herdsmen within a space of 3 years have killed as much as up to 3,000 people. So what are we talking about? If you look at the juxtaposition, they don't even match at all.
So they don't relate in this regard. Finally, though, you've already talked about it at the beginning. Now, the operations of the military. Now we see them going on with the Operation Python Dance. Army authorities, going on to defend, their decision now to take up these operations. But then, is that your answer now, that they have no business in states?
It's just that this part of the world, we don't also respect the laws we make. Section 200, I think 217, gives the president some powers when it comes to military actions. If you look at Section 217 and Section 218, but you see that those powers are not absolute. They are subject to, the National Assembly's assent. Right. Before you take up a military action in any state, it must be approved by the National Assembly. But as it were now, Operation Python Dance or Panto Disco, whatever it is called, is just a presidential fiat. And this is a democratic administration. I can tell you point blank that if this operation goes to court, it's going to fall. Because the position of the law is so clear. The president never went through the National Assembly. But we allow it because we are looking at the fact that we want peace. But such acts should not be... Look, if you see military parading, the normal thing is before the military do such exercise, they will conscientize the people within that environment that we are going to march within this street and this street. Don't be afraid, though. We are just going our way.
Tony
no
Ofoyetan,
problem.
Let's just rest it on this note now. Tony Ofoyetan, security analyst, many thanks for joining us once again.